Hey y'all, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily and we make recovery videos for severe anxiety, agoraphobia, panic disorder, DPDR, and more. So if you are struggling with that, definitely subscribe to this channel and follow along. Check the description and you can find important resources, including my free recovery guide and Facebook group. So what I want to chat about today is something that comes up a lot when people join the coaching program and they say, I've been doing exposure for weeks, months, years, and it's not helping, it's only making me worse, right? So I want to talk about why exposure without a specific method behind it can actually be more harmful than helpful, and how do you figure out how to properly do exposure and get back to living your life. So, I know that when I first started my recovery journey, right? Well, I guess before I was recovering, while I was still symptomatic, trying to climb out of the trenches and get my life back, I was in a place where the symptoms were chronic, like 24/7, so strong, so scary, no real answers of what was going on. And definitely couldn't do the big things like drive or anything like that. I wasn't staying home alone. I was not even taking a shower or a bath alone. I felt like I was going to faint 24/7. You get the point, right? I couldn't do anything. So my first sorry, my cat's over here. My first thought was to lay in bed and wait it out, right? And recover. Well, that didn't work. So 6 months later, I decided that I was going to try to get my life back, right? I was going to start doing basic things like leaving my house and walking to the mailbox, right? Grocery stores, stuff like that. But the problem is I wasn't using like what I teach, ideal. I wasn't using anything like that at first. I was just kind of winging it and trying to get in and get out and kind of white knuckle my way through things. So I'll give you the example of I'll just say the grocery store. So what it would look like is I was always with my husband. I was never alone at that time in recovery. And I would usually be sitting there in the car checking my heart rate and my blood pressure and just everything. I was already worked up, right? Not the best mindset going into it. And then I would make my way into Target. I would get a few aisles in. I would feel super faint, super derealized, like I was going to pass out. My heart was racing. I had all these symptoms, which is expected, right? When you're doing something that your body doesn't want you to do and it thinks you're in danger. So I was getting these symptoms, and then I was either leaving and saying, we got to get out of here right now. I got to go. I feel so bad, and retreating to the car. Or B, I was getting through it and I was staying. But the entire time I was tense. My shoulders were up here. My hands were literally white knuckling, gripping the cart. And I was just hanging on for dear life, trying to survive, right? And then I would get in the car and I was like, oh, we made it out there alive, we barely survived. And what am I signaling to my body when I'm doing that? That it was a threat, right? That I walked into a war zone and I didn't get killed. Barely, right? So what's the problem with that? Well, when your body's in that state of chronic stress, fight or flight, it's constantly trying to tell you that you are in danger. And so the way to recover, which you can see on my channel, see in the recovery guide, is to basically get back to living your life with the proper response. So it's doing the same thing. It's going to Target still, but using something like IDEAL, which is our acronym that we made up to help you with that. Using something like that to show your body, hey, this is uncomfortable, but this is adrenaline. This is expected. The way that I recover is by showing my body that Target is a safe place. It's not a threat, and kind of walking yourself through that mentally and not allowing yourself to freak out and engage with those thoughts and fears and what ifs and everything that goes along with that, right? that's the proper way to do exposure. And you can find more videos that give you like actual, I would say like practical steps to take, but you get like the basis, right? So that would be why so many of you have been trying to do exposure for weeks, months, years, however long, and it's either not helping or it's making things worse. Very, very common, kitty. Very, very common. And I would say the best thing to do if you start following my methods and following the recovery guide and all that kind of stuff, or join coaching or whatever you decide to do, is throw the past out, right? Because just because you've been doing it for a really long time doesn't mean that it really has anything to do with exposure with a method, right? It's like two completely different things. And so it's recognizing that, throwing that out, honestly, not looking at the timeline anymore, not telling yourself, I've been doing it for so long. Well, honestly, it doesn't count, right, when you're not doing it the right way. So I hope that helps kind of answer that question for you and explain to you why white knuckling your way through things without a method, without understanding that you actually are safe, right? Without understanding what anxiety even is, why it's happening, can be more harmful than helpful. So let me know what questions you have. Let me know if you've been doing this, and at the very least, get into that recovery guide because it's free and it tells you exactly what to do.